Hello and welcome to Illumination. Tonight, we're going to tell a story about a city of impossible grandeur and the unbearable price that was paid for it.
Imagine this. It's 1899. You're in the middle of the Iraqi desert, and a team of German archaeologists, they find something that just shouldn't exist. Bricks. Bricks that have been buried for 2,500 years that were still glowing this brilliant, impossible blue. They had found the Ishtar Gate. They had found a ghost. They had found Babylon.
You see, for centuries, the city itself was just gone, lost, so thoroughly abandoned that its exact location was a total mystery. And yet, the name, Babylon, that name never lost its power. It echoed through holy books, through history, a word that meant both greatness and sin. So that brings us to our question. How does a city become more famous as a myth than it ever was in reality? That's what we're here to figure out.
It's really hard to wrap your head around, but for over 1,000 years, the actual physical city of Babylon was so forgotten that medieval travelers would walk right past its ruins and have no idea what they were even looking at. But the idea of Babylon, that was everywhere, in the Bible, the Quran, in art and literature. The legend had completely, and I mean completely, swallowed the truth.
And here's the real twist. You know, for the first 1,000 years it even existed, Babylon was, well, it was a nobody. In a landscape of true giants, like the ancient city of Ur or the legendary Uruk, Babylon was just another town on the river. It was never the main character in the story. Not until one man decided that it would be. So what happened? There wasn't some miracle, no divine event that suddenly made Babylon great. No, there was a king, a man named Hammurabi. And he is the one who transformed his minor city into the center of the known world. And he did it through sheer political will, military brilliance, and a kind of propaganda so effective, we're still feeling its effects today. Okay, so when Hammurabi took the throne, Babylon was a minor player. It controlled maybe 50 kilometers of territory. That's it. By the time he died, he ruled almost all of Mesopotamia. How do you do it? Well, he played a different game. While all his rivals were locked in these huge bloody battles, he was gathering intelligence. He'd promise one king his alliance, and then just patiently wait for both sides to completely exhaust themselves before turning on them both. He was methodical, he was brilliant, and he was absolutely ruthless. And then, after 40 years of conquest and betrayal, he did the most audacious thing of all. He declared himself the bringer of justice. He stood before a world that he had conquered by force and proclaimed that his whole purpose was to protect the weak from the strong. The sheer audacity of it, it's really breathtaking when you think about it.
And this became his masterpiece, a towering stone carved with 282 laws, placed right out in public for everyone to see. Now, you have to understand, for the first time ever, justice wasn't just based on the mood of a king. It was written down, it was consistent, it was predictable. Hammurabi didn't just build an empire, he built a brand. And that brand was Babylon, the city of law, the center of civilization itself.
Now, as you might guess, Hammurabi's empire didn't last forever. But that brand? Oh, the brand did. Centuries later, a new king, Nebuchadnezzar II, would take that brand and build the city we all imagine when we hear the name, the legendary Babylon, the city of wonders. And this wasn't just a city, it was a statement. It was home to maybe 200,000 people. I mean, that made it one of the largest cities on the entire planet at the time. It was meticulously planned, with straight streets laid out on a grid, advanced water systems. We're talking about a level of urban sophistication that really wouldn't be seen again for thousands of years. And right at its heart stood the Great Ziggurat, Etemenanki. This was a massive, stepped pyramid rising 91 meters into the sky. That's like a 30-story building, in a world where almost everything else was just 1 story high. This wasn't just architecture, it was an attempt to literally touch the heavens, a declaration of power that you could see from miles and miles. And beneath all that sand, archaeologists unearthed thousands upon thousands of clay tablets. And what they found on them revealed the civilization of just breathtaking genius. I mean, they mapped the stars with so much precision they could predict eclipses. They developed complex algebra. The very reason we have 60 seconds in a minute, that comes from their base 60 mathematics. They had banking, loans, credit, a whole complex market economy humming with activity. This was a place of true, undeniable brilliance. But, as we're about to see, every marvel has its cost. And this is where the story turns. This is where we have to look into the shadows cast by those towering, glowing walls. Because magnificence like this, it's never free. And we have to ask the hard question: who paid the price for it all?
It turns out the very same clay tablets that recorded their brilliant mathematics also recorded the sale of human beings. You see, slavery wasn't some unfortunate side effect of Babylonian society. It was the engine that powered the whole thing. Those grand buildings, constructed by enslaved hands. That agricultural surplus that fed the astronomers and the bankers, harvested by enslaved workers.
And Hammurabi's famous code of laws? It didn't protect everyone. In fact, it did the opposite. It cemented the social hierarchy. So if a nobleman injured another nobleman, the punishment was severe, an eye for an eye. But if that same nobleman injured a commoner, he just had to pay a fine. And if he injured a slave, he paid a little compensation to the slave's owner. The law itself confirmed in writing that some lives were simply worth more than others.
Eventually, of course, the physical city fell. It was conquered by the Persians, then by Alexander the Great, who actually died there. The river even shifted its course over time, and the city just slowly, quietly returned to the sand. It died. But the idea of Babylon, hola, that was just getting started.
For the next 2,000 years, Babylon became a symbol, and it was reshaped by every single culture that invoked its name. For Jewish tradition, it was the great oppressor, the place of exile. For Christians, it became a metaphor for all worldly corruption, the whore of Babylon. In Islam, it was a place of ancient, powerful magic. And for the West, it became this fantasy of exotic, decadent empire. The myth, it became more real, more influential than the actual city ever was.
And this, I think, gets to the absolute core of it all. We want to separate the two, don't we? We want to celebrate the astronomy, the mathematics, the incredible architecture, and then put the slavery and the brutal conquest over in a separate box. But we can't. Babylon teaches us that they are two sides of the very same coin. The brilliance was made possible by the brutality. They aren't separate stories, they are the same story.
And so, Babylon leaves us with a question, one that echoes through 4,000 years of human history. And it's not really about them, it's about us. We still build our monuments, we still chase progress, we still write laws that we claim are just. And so, we have to ask ourselves, what bones are we building on today? That is the question Babylon forces us to face. I'm Steph, and this is Illumination. Thank you for watching.